Hello, hello, hello. It's Jeremy Gryder. I am the e-commerce redneck, and today I have a super special episode. I have my friend Harvey Castro, MD and MBA. He is a brilliant doctor and businessman, and I think y'all are really going to enjoy this culture cast. But without any further ado, Harvey, how are you doing, friend?
Man, so good. I can't thank you enough. Thanks for having me. This is really fun, and I'm glad we connected. I love what we're doing, and this is exciting. So thanks, man.
Yeah, well, I've got to ask you because I ask everybody, even on the Culture Cast, what have you done or have you done anything in e-commerce? And I fully expect that you have because it seems like you've got like 150 different things you're up to at all times.
Yeah, early in my career, you're gonna laugh. One of my college classmates was buying websites, and I thought, huh, that's a good idea. So then I started buying a bunch of websites back then and thinking, wonder if this will be a good website in the future, and got crazy stuff like brotalks.com, which at the time was a thing, or before it became a thing. And to answer your question, I've had multiple endeavors, and every endeavor I've had to jump into e-commerce. So Vitamin Company, and I did that. Now I have about 27 books, so Amazon, a lot of books
Mm-hmm.
on there. Then it's a combination of how can we leverage, and as you know better than me, this industry shifts and change, and you should do this
Mm-hmm.
widget or that, or focus on that. So it's quite interesting, especially in the age of AI.
Well, too, it's interesting because you're right. There are so many different sides of e-commerce. I tell people all the time, sometimes like you may not even realize you were doing e-commerce, but if you're selling something online, essentially it's e-commerce. So, and it seems like a lot of people go down that road. Now, with that said, you are an actual doctor. Tell us a little bit about the adventures of Harvey Castro, MD.
You know, I feel really blessed to be able to say I'm a physician. I've been doing emergency medicine for about 20 years. Big picture, it gave me discipline of a science and how to go about life. Prior to that, I was in the U.S. Army, and it did that, but it was a stepping stone to get to this point. And now that I'm a physician, I'm a little bit of a nutty professor. I'm taking the science of being a physician, and then I'm adding AI, and then I don't want to say I'm creative, but I think a lot outside the box, and I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
combine the different silos. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
literally taking my experience in clinical gestalt, and then I've been blessed in that I've dabbled into other industries and within healthcare as well. For example, at one point I had 400 employees, and I started a company with one emergency room, grew it to 8 locations. Then I had my own billing company, staffing company, marketing company,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to take healthcare, but then look at the administrative side. And now with AI, I'm really looking at, okay, how can we look at AI plus healthcare, put it together? And it's been a huge blessing because I'm able to do things because of the vertical of healthcare, because I'm a
Right.
doctor, because I've been in the trenches, because I know the problems they're facing and the culture. I'm able to go in, and I hate to brag, but in 22, I wrote the first book, How Can We Use ChatGPT in Healthcare? And that was
Mm.
really great because back in 2022, people barely heard of ChatGPT. And here's a book on this is how we use it in healthcare. And that book really opened all these doors. I did it as a public service announcement. And all of
Yeah,
a sudden, I started going around the world speaking on this topic.
that's amazing. Well, Harvey, I don't know if you know this, but I have a background in medical as well. I wasn't a doctor, but I sold long-term care pharmacy services, and I actually got my farm tech license, went in with the pharmacist, and, they did they would go through and figure out how to reduce the number of medications. And I was just thinking
Mm,
while you were talking about that, I can only imagine now like medical records, and polypharmacy and how that could be a thing of the past if AI was involved. And I'm sure somebody's already doing it out there, but that's one of those things, just real simple, but it took, it would take 20 hours to do it in a home or 2 days, 2 or 3 days to do it. For somebody going through books, something that AI can help us with, I'm sure now in a matter of seconds.
exactly. I've been blessed. I've done 2 keynotes for FIP. It's a Federal International Pharmacy for the World.
Hmm.
And it's been fun being in those conferences to see where we're headed, what the culture's like in the pharmacy world, and what applications. And I really think our rate limiting step is not the technology, because that's exponential. It's really us, it's the culture. Can we
Mhm.
accept these changes? Are we ready for these changes? Are we even using that technology that way when the technology is there?
Right, right. And now I've heard you speak about as well, like using AI in ARs to help diagnose. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, so this information is growing, and again, the culture is kind of the rate limiting step. But there's some little stuff that some people don't know. I call it little because I'm in this space. But if we were to do it, let's say pretend I'm your doctor, and this
Mhm,
is the video feed. There's AI that can listen to your voice and tell me that you're pre-diabetic. In places, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me that in the jail system, it's really hard to get vitals on a jailmate. And
mhm,
so when she does telemedicine, I thought, oh, there's algorithms right now that, based on your voice, tell me your blood pressure. And
mhm.
so there's all this analytics. And then I started thinking, if you put a camera, and I know this sounds kind of odd, but if you put it in the waiting room and you have a long wait, unfortunately, the camera can do some predictive analytics of who is really sick and who's getting sick in front of you,
Wow.
and then call and alert the doctor, the nurse, and saying,
Yeah.
hey, this person's heart rate just dropped. We need to get this person back. You're gonna let them die in the waiting room. And
Mm.
you're so busy that unfortunately you hear stories like that still. But again, the technology is there, but the cultures are rate limiting step.
That's amazing. Well, and I love that. We both belong to metal, and I think it's full of brilliant men that are kind of like you and me that are all over the place doing all sorts of things. But I find it so exciting that not only have you been in the medical world, I think it's really important to remember you have that MBA and you are a chief AI officer at a space company. What? Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Oh, I got to tell you this story. So I'm really blessed, and I got to meet this guy named Michael Gordon. Love the man to death. In fact, just remember I'm having lunch with him after this. Or is it tomorrow? Now I gotta look at my calendar. But anyway, he's the founder of Teladoc. He thought of Teladoc and then he took it
Wow.
public. And so I love hanging out with him because I love the entrepreneur spirit. And then we kind of geek out and talk forever. But anyway, about a year and a half ago ish, he said, Harvey, would you like to meet an astronaut? And I'm like, I really think there's every kid in us wanted to be an astronaut
Yeah.
growing up at some point.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
so
especially being a kid from Texas, we have, Houston, which is a big part of, I believe NASA's been based out of there for a long time, right?
yeah. In fact, I'll be in NASA tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow, on Friday, presenting a hologram idea. And I'll remind me to tell you about that. So I'll finish the Phantom story.
Oh,
And
sorry.
no, because that one's a cool story too, and that's Friday. So basically, he said, Harvey, you want to meet an astronaut? I'm like, heck yeah. So I show up at this restaurant. The guy just ironically sat next to me, so I got to talk to him. And I'm like, oh my God, you walked on the moon. You knew Neil Armstrong. I'm thinking, holy cow, this is like history. And I'm just taking every word in. I'm like a little kid.
Hmm.
And then luckily, the CEO of the company behind me is called Phantom Space. He was there and we started talking. He's like, Harvey, I hear good things about you understanding AI. I would like you to be an advisor for our company. I'm like, oh my gosh, kid dream. Heck yeah. And so we started talking and developing a friendship, and I was advising. And then June of this year, I called him and I said, oh my gosh, you guys are doing so much. You guys are a gold gem. Let me be your ambassador. I love speaking. Let me do that. And I was so honored. He said, no, Harvey, I've been waiting for this day, and I don't want to just give you that. I want you to come into the C-suite. I want you to be the chief AI officer. I see how you think. I see how you're leveraging AI. And I want you to make us more efficient because we're growing. And the more efficient we use AI, the better we're growing. And this is like another kid dream. He said, when we start sending humans to space, in that moment, I want you to be our doctor for the company. And I thought, oh my God. So now I got to start working out. There's a chance I'll be going to space with the other guys.
Heck
And I
yeah.
thought, what an opportunity. And so I'm really honored. The second thing about this position
Well, all
is
those bullies in high school that said you were a space cadet were right.
exactly what makes me really feel amazing is that the doctor in me, the giver in me, the healer, I hate calling myself healer, but the provider, having the ability to influence and say, look, guys, you have a data center. They have a patent to put data centers in space. They have the rockets, the satellites, they have the stack. Once that's
Hmm.
100% operational, I thought, oh my gosh, what if we create some applications in space to help people on Earth? And so I'm literally working on several concepts and how we're going to put it together and things that don't exist because we don't have that network. But once it's there, I truly think in my heart we're going to help humanity, and that's the biggest prize for me. That I'm thinking that's
Yeah,
if I have to
I've
leave anything, that's it.
I've been hearing about this the last few days. Space is the next frontier when it comes to data centers. It makes sense. They can run off solar, I believe, up there. So, it's what an amazing time to be in this technology. I can't help but think the same. I got to build the website for the band Live, and I always was real into music. And so getting to do that was like a kid in a candy store, feeling like you get to be a part of it, and it was really exciting. And I feel like, man, I don't know if my story could top yours for sure, because being an astronaut, you're right. Any kid growing up in Texas, especially if did you grow up in Houston, or where did you grow up?
Actually, I grew up in New York City, but I
Okay.
was honored to be able to say I served the U.S. Army, and that got me to Texas. And here in Texas, I ended up going to Texas A&M for undergrad. I went to medical school in
Okay.
Galveston, right down the street from NASA. In
Uh-huh.
fact, at one point, I
So
really
you're a
thought
transplant?
I'm a transplant. Yeah.
Well, hey, I got to tell you about something. I just interviewed Ollie Pettigrew, who's a big influencer here in Texas. And on March 2nd in Huntsville, Texas, every year you can get baptized as a Texan. So you can be official. So if you ever want to get baptized as a Texan, you need to go down there and get
I
baptized
love
on
it.
March 2nd.
Okay. Deal. And I don't talk about politics, but last night I got a chance to meet the governor and have a conversation with him,
Wow.
and it was really cool. It was I was impressed by the way he spoke, what he's working on, and then just I felt it being real. I didn't feel like this it's all politics. No, he was very,
Yeah.
this is what I want. This is where I see. These are the core things, and just I thought it was cool to be able to just sit down and chat with them.
Yeah, yeah. It's always interesting when you meet people and they're powerful people, and you always kind of wonder, are they going to be normal? Are they psychopaths because they're in that position, and they just love the power, or are they down to earth kind of people? And it's always good when you meet somebody and they're just, normal and talk to you and you feel like you can connect. I actually met Governor Perry, our last governor, recently, and he shook my hand and said, it's so nice to meet you. I've heard so many good things about you. I was like, what? My wife used to work for him. So anyhow,
And I
yeah,
forget
in
where are
his
you right now?
office. I'm
Where do you
in
live?
Austin, Texas.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind because the next time I'm in Austin, for some reason I've been in Austin 4 or 5 times this year, random stuff, meetings
Yeah,
and conferences that I talked to. So cool.
definitely let me know.
I
I'd
gotta,
love
I
to
got,
catch up.
yeah, I gotta share the NASA story. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so one of my friends, my God, EXA, Fernando, he's a metal guy too.
Hmm.
Prior to metal, we had met, and I actually invited him to come to metal. But anyway, long story short, prior to that, we started talking, and he's like, Harvey, I have this hologram thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, no, you need to create an AI. You need to make it into a doctor. And then I told him how to do it, and the voice, and the different APIs, and how to keep the
Hmm.
costs low. And we hit it off, and I'm helping his company. Fast forward, he said, Harvey, we got a contract that we're working for, and NASA wants us to present them. So on Friday, he's like, Harvey, will you come to NASA when we present to the officials? I'll give you a behind the scenes tour of control center, and I'll give you a tour around. But then when we present, I want you to be there for questions on the medical side. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about going to NASA on Friday. Like
That's
really,
some
really
Star
excited.
Trek stuff. You're taking holograms to
Yes, we're taking it to the moon.
NASA.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
goal is to put this bad boy on a rocket, and then when we're doing stuff in the moon or Mars or wherever, this doctor would show up, and then it would have AI. Let's pretend we downloaded my brain. And then you had, God forbid, an emergency, then I'd be like, okay, this is how you do it, this and this. And I'm not there because the problem with space is that if it's really far away, if I'm having this podcast with you, what we spent already in time probably would have taken 4 months because, it'd be
Wow.
like, hello, and then be like, okay, hi, and then be like an hour back. And then we'd just be
Wow.
going back and forth. And then the lag time. On the geeky side, there is some theories of using quantum physics to create a communication gap. So if they can pull that off, that's like next level. Then anyway, it's kind of cool.
Well, Harvey, so what is the company you're with? What is the name of it again?
It's called Phantom
Phantom.
Space. Phantom.
What you said they're focused on data centers, putting data centers in space?
Yeah, this is crazy. So this is another amazing story. I feel blessed. This is the number 2 and 4 to Elon Musk when they started SpaceX. So back in
Okay.
the day, these two individuals helped found SpaceX, and I love talking
Wow.
about how they did it, and I call it the war stories or the space war stories. It was really, really interesting. These guys is one of them is called Chris Thompson. He's like literally the head engineer for SpaceX back in the day. He worked from I think for like 12 years and designed the rockets, the Falcon that you see going up and down. Like he designed it, and he was the head engineer for all of it. And so I feel really honored as a kid, like, oh my gosh, I'm with this guy that's like, rocket scientist. And then there's Jim Cantrell, whom both amazing individuals, and I call him like the godfather of satellites. This guy knows satellites and he has created them, and these guys got together. They have this company called Phantom Space, and what makes them special is that they really thought it through. They have the launch pads. They have some in Cape Canaveral. They have some around the world. They are developing the rockets. And then on top of that, they already developed the satellites and are selling the satellites. And then years ago, they had the idea of putting data centers in space, and they got a patent for it. And so they have the full stack. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is really gold, because
Mm-hmm.
once that's 100% operational, think of all the different applications everybody out there could do. But for me as a doctor, I'm thinking, how can I help humanity? How can I leverage that technology in space to really help people on Earth? And so the teaser is going to be, listen to my latest TEDx talk. It came out 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about using satellites and communications and how can we help people on Earth.
Yeah, get me that link and
I will.
we'll add it to the comments for the video. Definitely. That's exciting, man. So they've got all the pieces to make it happen. They're just putting it together. That's half the battle right there, Wow. That's interesting. Now, you've done quite a few TEDx talks too now, right? How many have
Yeah,
you done so far?
it's crazy. I feel blessed. I've done 5 so far, and they've been all of them were, I don't get paid for any of that. It's just more of my public service announcement. How can we help humanity? That's really my goal. My big agenda is how can we leverage this technology to help people around the world, put it together so that we can really improve. I always one of the TED Talks that I did, I talk about we have proactive medicine and we have reactive medicine. On the reactive side, everyone out there knows that you probably won't, some guys, especially guys who are bad about doctors, we don't go to the doctor until something's broke. We don't go there
Yeah.
until, you know what, I'm not feeling well and I'm really sick and I probably should go now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas women in general, they'll jump in quicker. They'll be like, no, we need to prevent this. And that's why we start seeing the age gap. That's one of many reasons. And so then I started thinking, if I could alert you, buddy, if I could tell you, hey, dude, I'm catching some high diabetes probability for you based on your voice, we
Mm-hmm.
need to get this checked out. And then you're like, oh my God, I do have pre-diabetes. And now I'm proactively saying, hey man, let's start walking. Or the watch says, hey dude, you've been sitting there all day. We need you to walk. All of a sudden, we're starting to prevent disease. We're trying to do things. And now I want to change the world to more of a proactive approach so that if I can give you 5, 10 more years of your life, most people be like, hell yeah. And my
Wouldn't
favorite
that
phrase is,
wouldn't that break the American healthcare system though? It's all
well,
built the other way.
no, it is. To your point, if you are proactive enough, I feel that you could prevent and you can possibly change. And let's just say you were able to catch a pancreatic cancer early somehow. And instead of you dying, now you don't catch it and you're not the most expensive part of healthcare is usually like depending like the last 6 months of your life because your ICU bills and all that. But big picture, I thought, can we leverage this technology to be proactive and help? My stories is my mother, she had 2 types of cancer. Luckily, she was an ultrasound tech and she happened to be scanning herself and she found this little nodule and early and ended up being cancer. And then when they were doing a PET scan, they found another cancer in her throat, totally independent.
Mm.
And she had chemo, the whole 9 yards. And thank God she's alive and it's been over 20 years. My dad, on the other hand, he had a heart attack and literally died. No warning signs, no nothing. And I thought, man, I have the 2 sides. My dad, that was just unfortunate that happened. And then my mom, that was proactive. And I thought, man, we really need to push for this proactive approach.
I like that. I think so too. And I think honestly, AI can keep us a lot more honest about it. I feel like, you took a oath to do no harm. Right. But I think a lot of doctors like yourself also have an attachment to mankind and the heart of what you're doing. And so I'm grateful that there's people out there like yourself, Harvey, that after getting to know you over the last year or so, I just find your heart to be one of the biggest things about you, is that you really want to
Thanks,
help
man.
humanity. And so, man, that makes an impact. And I have no doubt you're going to make an impact for us, not just yourself, not just the space program, but healthcare in general. Your ideas are revolutionary and it's exciting. I think a lot of people are scared of what that might mean, but like you said, something is easy. I mean, for instance, Fathom, right? Fathom is a tool that
Uh-huh.
we use for recording Zooms. And when it now analyzes a deal, a lot of times it can tell you from a conversation if you got that deal or not,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's because it does have a high level of intelligence. And if we had that same kind of sensitivity watching those interactions between doctors, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. We need it.
Yeah, let's expand on that. I been advising hospital systems, and I said, hey, take your naughty doctors that don't have good bedside, take your ones that are getting sued or about to get sued or high risk for getting sued, and let's put them through an emotional intelligence AI, where the AI is listening to their voice, their pauses, their tone, their mannerisms, and giving them a report saying, hey, guy or girl, you are doing XYZ wrong and you need to do this better. And this is why. I really think it would make a difference. I'll say it again. My favorite phrase is we don't know what we don't know. But AI introducing something to us and saying, you know what, I'm seeing X, and us being like, okay, it's not another human being calling me out. It's an AI. We tend to accept it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, there is a GPT called Monday that is really great for scrutinizing yourself or
Hmm.
scrutinizing other AI, but it is so insulting. First thing it does is go for the throat. It will put a wrench in anything you tell it, but it's a lot of fun. And I think, AI not only needs some scrutiny, but it needs to be able to scrutinize us because you're right. It's easier to take it from somebody, an AI, not somebody else that has other things involved, relationships and stuff. If you're hearing these kind of things and correcting them like a salesperson can do with Fathom, why not? Why not bring that
Yeah,
to the medical world?
exactly.
And
Exactly.
bedside manner is definitely something a lot. I don't imagine you struggle with that, but I have seen some major struggles with some docs. So I've been lucky myself.
Yeah, I feel blessed. I think growing up with nothing has been opening my spectrum of just seeing the different spectrum of life. And then growing up in New York City and I had a teenage mom, it really opened my eyes in appreciation of life. And when I walk into a patient room, I'm 100% red carpet, regardless of your money status or social status, and it comes out. My favorite compliments is I've had homeless people come to me and saying, you're not the typical doctor here. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, you care about me and I can feel it. And I was like, man, what an honor. to be able to someone say that to you.
I believe that. I'll say, I don't know if you know this, but my degree is in theology. I have a
I
theology
didn't know
degree.
that.
Yeah. And so what I would say is I've only done pastoring 2 years out of the 25 years I've been out of college. I graduated in 2000. And even then I was doing sales part-time. I have to say it's played into the morality and ethics in the way that I do things. It also has given me a heart for the underdog and those who don't always get treated right. And I think healthcare needs that too. We definitely need people that are really close to what they took, that was a Hippocratic oath, that is important. Do no harm, but it's not just doing no harm. It's treating people right in the process. It's helping people survive. It's helping people have hope. And so I can see that in what you do and the passion that you have around the AI and the things that you can do to help people improve that maybe don't have those social skills or capabilities, or even help them see things that they, normally wouldn't see.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, and on the spiritual side, regardless of what religion or your thoughts on God, I truly feel you put your heart in the right place. You do the things for the right reasons. And I think you don't do it for the reward, but I think life, or you call it God, or depending on your thoughts, I feel like it does come back to you in a positive way.
Definitely.
My public service announcement of ChatGPT Healthcare, that was just me grinding, writing a book, and I just wanted to help my doctors out there and patients to see another angle. I never saw it as a moneymaker, never saw it as something that would change my life at all. In fact, I was like, no, it's just about giving. And now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the country of Singapore, because of the book, eventually has me currently as their advisor for the country. And I speak to the
Yeah,
Ministry
I
of
saw
Health.
that. Yeah,
And it's
that's pretty
crazy. It's
cool.
like, oh my gosh. And so I get to go to Singapore now and I sit with the Ministry of Health and doctors and people and I'm just like, wow, God, thank you. And the reason it matters
And
for us
Singapore is
Americans,
so advanced. So,
exactly.
yeah,
That's what I want to go where. It's because they're so advanced. I feel like you made the comment earlier, will our healthcare get broken if people are living longer? And this is I feel so blessed to be part of Singapore because their mentality is, let's not just work on longevity, let's work on health span, meaning how long can I live without a
healthy.
chronic disease? Yeah, healthy. And big picture, their mindset is they've created some parts of Singapore that they're experimenting to see if they can increase people's health span. And as a result, if that works, they're going to put it for the entire nation. And why does that
Wow.
matter to us is if we start seeing how they're doing their secret sauce, and they're having a harder time before us because they don't have as much physicians to the population. And so that ratio is getting bigger and bigger, and their population lives longer and longer, whereas our population doesn't live as long as people in Singapore. And so why does that matter? If we learn how they're doing it, how they're leveraging AI, what tools they're using, and we bring that here to the States, now we can really, really help our country.
I agree. And I think the next time it comes up for it, we should make Harvey Castro Surgeon General so we can get it done.
That's so funny you say that. My goal is to run for Congress in 5 years, but when I was younger, I thought maybe I should do Surgeon General. So we'll see what
Yeah, we'll
the cards
see.
hold in the future.
Yeah, man. Well, Harvey, it has been so great to have you on here. I think a lot of you, like I said, guys, we met on Metal Men, which is a men's group. If y'all want to check that out, I can't encourage y'all more to check out a men's group than metal.men. That's the website. And I think Harvey fully endorses it as well. And it's been revolutionary for my life. And I meet people like Harvey all the time that I get to learn what's going on in the world for reals. And it's been exciting. Harvey, thank you so much for coming on the e-commerce Redneck. We're excited about what you're doing. It's been a great culture cast, and we'll talk to you soon. Did you have anything else you wanted to plug?
Yeah, big picture, if you can follow me on any social media, all my social media is the same. It's just Harvey Castro, MD as medical doctor, and that's literally everything: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of that. And then the second, if you can, and I like ending it with this: we don't know what we don't know, and also we don't know when our last day is. So whatever enemies you guys have out there, whatever grudges you have, try to make peace with everything and make sure the circle of people that support you, that you're supporting them back with a simple call.
Absolutely. Thank you, Harvey. We appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Thanks.